Howdy, everybody. How y'all doing today?
Hello, Woody.
That's the first guy. Is that the first cowboy you come up with?
It's either Woody or John Wayne.
I'm Buzz.
Buzz is not a cowboy.
You don't know what region of space he's from.
I don't know what region his actor's from. Tim Allen.
America.
I used to think he was from Texas, but he can't be.
No.
He doesn't have the accent.
No, he doesn't have a Texas accent.
No.
I don't know.
Maybe Florida, maybe.
Most likely. I mean, he's probably just Californian.
Yeah.
You know.
True.
Standard location to find all actors.
Although, Hollywood is in California.
Yeah.
Florida is in California, right?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
No, sorry, it's next to California.
It basically is California.
Basically.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
Welcome to American Education, a new segment on...
From two British fools.
Yeah, practically.
Mm-hmm.
Stop it. Don't you dare.
He's talking to the technical staff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't dare mess around with that.
They live in the basement.
They're like 4 foot tall. I said, wait, 4 foot, that's what.
No, not quite. You're a bit off.
They're 15 centimeters tall.
Uh-huh.
They just run around and do their thing.
Well, you can't be having them run around during the show.
No, we can't. Which is why they'll get
stay
fired.
Put.
Yeah. I don't give a shit about it.
Welcome to All Directions, everybody. Hope you're all having a good day.
Yeah.
I'm Donovan. This is Mr. Alcove of the Voice.
Alcove of the Voice.
Voice inside his alcove.
Why does Alcove from The Voice sound like a really crappy rip-off of The Voice?
Well, I don't know. That's what you're gonna call yourself.
That's not what I'm called.
Inside the voice of Alcove.
No, it's Voice Cove from the Alf.
Yeah. Oh, yep. That's it. That's the one.
Fucking Alf.
How could I forget about Alf?
I mean, he's a rather forgettable Muppet.
Yeah.
I mean, is I suppose his design is semi-unique, but...
Oh, I mean, personally, I find all the Muppets, except for the frog, to be forgettable.
Yeah.
But clearly, I also find the frog forgettable, because I'm forgetting his name right now.
Well, maybe you need to commit to remembering some names.
Great start.
So, what are we talking about today?
Today we're not going into many thousands of topics like we usually do. We're just going to stick to a brief couple today.
Okay. Condensed.
We're basically going to be talking about movie hype, or just hype in general.
Yeah.
How damaging can it be? How is it the best thing to ever happen to cinema since popcorn? Because I mean, look, sliced bread's good, but you don't take it to the cinema very often.
No.
So you gotta hold yourself back a bit. Stick to that popped corn.
In fact, I know how popped corn became a part of the cinema experience.
Right.
Which was when cinemas were just cinemas and just didn't sell food inside. Fooled? They didn't sell fools, you see. They didn't sell food inside the cinema, so outside of the cinema you would have your popcorn stands like you sometimes see in the town and stuff. And so the cinemas were like, well, we could make more money, and then they started getting the popcorn guys on the inside.
Right.
Started making popcorn on the inside and selling it there, which is where most of the revenue for cinema is made today.
Yeah.
Which is an odd thing, because I have hardly met a time where I've went with someone to the cinema, including a date that I went on with a chick to the cinema. I didn't buy any food, and I've never bought food from the cinema. I think the only time I've had food from the cinema is when I was with you and your mother going to the cinema. and the last time we've seen Fan 4.
Yeah, I mean, typically, in all honesty, I wouldn't often buy food from the cinema. My habits are usually I will go to all of the shops that are next to the cinema that are selling very similar foods for a much cheaper price. Because cinema food's ridiculous.
It is.
Price. I understand why it's the price that it is, but that doesn't mean it's not ridiculous. And I usually just buy all the food from the shops, stick that in the bag, walk into the cinema, buy my ticket, and get in and watch the film. It's only really over the last 3 or 4 years that I've actually started occasionally getting food from the flicks.
From the flakes?
From the flakes.
All right.
From the flakes.
Flake is a food here.
It is, well, yeah, it is.
They don't actually have flakes in America.
But, well, that works, actually. They should start selling flakes.
They should.
Because they sell corn.
Oh, so I meant flakes is in the chocolate.
Well, I guess there's that too. I mean, you know,
which is a weird thing, because that means if we ever go to America in the future, we can't get a flake with our ice cream because they just don't sell flakes.
I've just clicked on to what flake you're on about now.
Because he's British, now he realizes.
I was like, what? I was like, he's on about cornflakes covered in chocolate? I was like, no, I've got it. I think if I went over to America and went to a cinemas there, I would try their, they've got like a hand pump just for that butter and stuff that they literally drown that popcorn in.
Oh, right, yeah.
And none of the cinemas, at least in our area, do that.
Well, I think it not. I want to say not too long ago I seen buttered popcorn in the cinema, but over here it's mostly sweet and
salty.
Salty, yeah.
Yeah.
I have seen buttered. In fact, I've had buttered popcorn at the Odeon before, but I didn't taste any butter, so it was just like I was eating.
But like, even if popcorn. They did like actually offer you buttered popcorn, they would literally just give you the buttered popcorn and stick that in the bucket, and that's yours to take away.
Yeah, pretty much.
Where you wouldn't get like control of it yourself to like pump your own butter in. Yeah. Like over in America, you get full control of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So you can put like however much popcorn you want into your own bucket, and then pump the butter in, and then put more popcorn in, and then more butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to give that a try. I might be very fat walking out of the cinema by that point in time.
Well, isn't it a thing like if you go over to America, expect to put on weight?
Well, it depends what part of America you go over to.
I think it usually just
because if you want to go over to LA or something, expect not to be let in if you are over a certain weight.
Really?
Yeah.
Is LA like that?
Apparently so. I've heard from a couple of different sources that obviously they've got a thing about weight because it's all about looking beautiful and everything in LA. But yeah, apparently if you're fat, you're not even allowed in, from what I've heard. Now I don't know whether or not that's actually true.
I doubt it is, because I'm sure there's fat people.
But I've heard that several times now, so I don't know.
That's weird.
Interesting. Yeah. No.
You're weird, America. I love you, but you're weird.
Yeah, we love you, but even you yourself can admit that you're weird. You are weird. We're weird too.
Yeah.
More specifically, though, as opposed to like the entirety. Of our kind.
Our kind.
Of our kind.
The British kind.
The British kind. So, movie hype. Then, I don't know. What do you think about movie hype in general? Do you think it, on a broad spectrum, do you think it's hurtful or do you think it's actually a good thing?
I think it's inevitable.
Well, no, that depends on the film.
Well, I think hype in terms of general public is inevitable. Whether you actually get hype or not, is something to be determined by what you're trying to sell.
Well, not necessarily, because, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, let's say there's a brand new film just come out in the cinemas. No one's ever heard of it before. Maybe it's had very little marketing. And the people that do go see the film are like, let's just go check that film out.
Yeah.
There's no hype around that film. So hype isn't necessarily inevitable. It just depends on the property.
Well, I've always looked at hype as the same as popularity.
relatively, not quite, but relatively the same thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So when I say stuff like it's inevitable or it's likely to happen, it's mainly because one, it might gain traction, or two, it's already a popular thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't take into consideration that hype might actually not exist for a particular thing. It just eventually happen anyway.
Well, I mean, if that thing is successful,
Yeah.
the thing that maybe originally didn't contain hype,
Yeah.
when its like sequel comes out,
Yeah.
it most likely will
Yeah.
have some element of hype surrounding it.
Mhm.
I mean, personally for me, I think hype it's a bit of a double-edged sword
Mhm.
because it's a good thing. Hype's a good thing
Oh,
because it gets people excited to go see a film,
Mhm.
and it's a form of entertainment. So if people aren't excited to go see a film, then so what's the point really? Now, I'm not to say you have to necessarily be super ecstatic about every film you go and see. You know, some films aren't meant for that kind of stuff, but especially more so with the blockbuster type things. Hype's fantastic because one, it'll help the movie in money ultimately, because hype spreads. So basically, you have one person that's really hyped, and they can start talking about it with their friends and family, which, you know, if it's along the lines of a subject that his friends and family are interested in, they can start getting hyped, and then so on and so on, it spreads. So for that reason, hype can be a very good thing. It gets a lot of people to go to cinemas. You know, you see the hype around how many people do stuff like trailer reactions and everything, which builds hype up. There's those workers running at it again.
I'll switch the workers off.
Yeah, they have a button.
Die.
But yeah, so either way, I mean, you see how many people do these trailer reactions, and so that in itself builds up hype because people are excited to see their favorite like reactors react to a trailer that they themselves really enjoyed, and then that starts stuff like speculation and the anticipation just for the film coming out. So that's like a good build up of hype.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, hype also essentially builds up expectation for a film. And pretty much 9.8 times out of 10, expectations are that unreachable. Like, even if a film is fantastic, if you've set yourself up with expectations for a film, there's a very good chance that film is going to disappoint you. Because it's never going to do the things that you want, that you've set yourself up for that film to then do. So for that reason, I'm always like, that's why I'm saying hype's a bit of a double-edged sword, because I think it's great for a film, but it can be very damaging for the audience themselves, because you spend a year building yourself up with this hype, and then finally that moment's there, and the hype's gone at that point because you've seen it, and ultimately the property's either done what you wanted it to do, or it's not done several things that you wanted to do, and you're walking out being very disappointed with the film, even if that film was actually a very good film at the end of the day. So I think hype can be both good and bad.
Yeah.
It's a bit hard to judge. But yeah, I know with speaking, I guess we'll just jump straight to it. Speaking of like raising expectations or lowering expectations, Justice League's coming out. Or at the time you're watching it, it will be out right now. And based off of the like reactions that everyone's giving it, social media, but I've kind of tried to stay away from it in general. But I've heard some people's thoughts, and there are people walking out having loved the film, being very excited about it. And there are people walking out being like, yeah, it's all right. Lower your expectations. And so that sort of goes to the thing of, first of all, whether or not, the whole hype thing being damaging. But personally for me, I think you're really better off just not listening to any of that stuff. If I were you, I would just avoid looking at like social media reactions whatsoever, because you're going to do one or two things. You're either like Chris here. Your point might be right, dude. You either like Chris here, and you've got no expectations for it whatsoever. Meaning that ultimately what people come out and say about it doesn't bother you whatsoever, because it's not going to change your thought. You're either there, if that's not the case, you're going in with negative expectations, which means you're either then you either want to be proved wrong or you're looking for people to shit
Yeah.
on the property.
Yeah.
And when you then see people being very negative, you're going to jump on that opportunity to be negative about it yourself, even if you haven't seen the film yet, and that might detract you from going to see the film whatsoever. Or you're just going into it basically to shit on it kind of thing. Or the opposite, which I guess is partially the case with me, is you're going in with positive, maybe even high expectations for the film. And then if you're looking at stuff like that, you're either going to feel a sense of being let down a little bit because you're reading the negative side of stuff, or you're going to basically just ignore what the negative side of everyone's saying anyway. You know, for me, there's people like I watch on a regular basis who have seen the film now and were very happy with it. Like, they loved the film. And so I'm like, oh, that's fantastic stuff. But there's also people that I watch regularly who are like, yeah, you know, it's not that good, to be honest with you. And I'm not taking, although I probably should take them both at face value equally, I'm not taking the negative side I'm not listening to the negative side as strongly as I am the positive side, but that's because I want the film to be good. But at the end of the day, I don't really care, and neither should anybody else. If every single person that's seen the film hated it, if everyone thought it's shit, because that doesn't necessarily mean that you will think it's shit, you might love it. I think the best example of that is just last year, when maybe there was only, when Batman v Superman came out, there's probably only like 2 out of every 10 critics came out and actually enjoyed that film. Everyone else came out and said, guys, this is not a good film. And, you know, I think the first reaction I actually got for that film was from a friend of mine, Robert, you know, a friend of ours, Robert. I saw his Facebook post on the film, and he was like, yeah, it wasn't for me. He didn't like it. So I was like, oh man, you know, I didn't have super high expectations for the film to begin with, but I was a bit disappointed that I'd heard from someone that I know personally that they thought the film was bad. So I was like, oh, does that mean I'm not going to like it? So I'm going in slightly cautious about the film, which I really shouldn't have been. And by the end of it all, I didn't love it the first time I saw it. I was a bit, I was medium, I was sort of average with it. I was like, there's elements of the film that I love, and there's elements of the film that I'm really not so sure about. But as I've said, the more and more I thought about that film, the more and more I went back to it. I actually ended up seeing it twice in the cinemas overall. But the more I actually thought about everything that went down in that film, the more I found myself being very happy with the film and loving it more and more. And then every time I've went back to it since and rewatched it again and again and again, especially like the Ultimate Edition, it's gotten to a point where now Batman v Superman is pretty much my favorite comic book movie ever made. So I don't care what people say about Justice League, because if everyone hates it or everyone loves it, I could still walk out feeling the exact opposite feeling. You know, so many people, like I've said, like we're talking about Marvel stuff last week, so many people walk out of half of their films praising the hell out of it, and they haven't got one negative word to say about those films. And I walk out and I'm like, yeah, it was all right. Like, so many people are saying that, what'd you call it? Spider-Man Homecoming. There's a lot of people that have rated that have now got that as the best Spider-Man film ever made. Better than Spider-Man 2, all that, right?
Really?
Yep. Lots of people, like, not everyone, there's still a lot of people that are like, it's the second best Spider-Man film ever made next to Spider-Man 2. But for me, I'm like, it's not a bad film whatsoever. In the film, then it's fantastic. But it's a run-of-the-mill standard Marvel movie. It's nothing special. It's not shit, but it's not unique, it's not great either. So I can't understand, like, everyone. I don't know if it's just the hype of Marvel having Spider-Man, which, you know, especially if you like looking at critics get hyped about films as well. The films that they have investment in, that they've either grown up with or
They really
characters.
shouldn't in the content.
Maybe not, but, you know, it's a natural human thing, right? So they have to review their films from the very first time they've seen it. And so the hype might still be in their head at that point because they're super excited about the fact that they've just seen that film. They're like, I can't wait to go see it again. And so then they're getting, like, those films are getting super high, like critic reviews and everything. And then you'll listen to that critic again like a year later, and they might be nowhere near as positive about that film anymore. They either have completely flipped, or they're like, yeah, I give it a 9 at the time. I'd probably give it like an 8 or a 7.5 now. So that's the kind of damage, really, that I think hype can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, I think hype is inevitable. Whether you get it or not is a thing to be determined on what you're trying to sell and how you're trying to sell it. I think, what's a good example? Going into an unknown property and drumming up hype beforehand. Oh, hold on, I'll step back a bit. Even before your product comes out, drumming up hype is a good thing, just for the property itself.
Yep.
The only problem is when your property is being sold and whether it lives up to said hype or not. If you're a person who is making a product and you're drumming up hype, drum up as much as you can, especially if it's going to be like a one-off deal, because you're most likely going to make the most profit or you're going to get the most views off that one particular thing for that one particular time. But if you're going into something and you're drumming up a lot of hype for something that in the end doesn't deserve it, or is you're going to make a sequel or something to follow up from that, either on your second thing, disassociate yourself from it and get someone else to do it for you, because then you won't get the stigma of the last thing you tried to sell. So like, say you do put your name on the first product that you sell that you've drummed up a lot of hype for previously. If you put your name on the next thing that you're going to bring out, there's going to be less hype because now people have got the stigmatism that it's going to be bad again. Even if you do drum up a lot of hype for it, there's still going to be a lot of people who are going to be like, oh, the next thing's going to be really shit. So yeah, it's a lot of give and take. But it's also the fault of whoever's buying the product, whoever's viewing the product, because then we're getting to the deal of whoever's trying to sell the product is drumming up hype. People who have seen the hype are getting hyped. People who are hyped are going to hype up other people, like you've said.
Yep.
And it goes into a big circle. And hype's a really weird thing because you can drum up just a little bit of hype and that'll turn into a huge amount of hype. Or you can try to drum up hype and it won't work at all. It's a weird thing because you could sell the most. Ooh, here's a good example. So and I was watching this on a YouTube channel. Thanks, Chadtronic. Of basically like a sausage mold, right? Which basically you put the sausage in and you close this thing up, and it basically makes like 4 cuts, one down like the bottom half of the sausage, and it basically makes a tiny man for a sausage, or out of a sausage, and like it's like a really small thing, but apparently that really kicked off in America, so that's good. Well done you for creating a really simple product and making a lot of moolah for it, but now, if they want to sell anything else, they're always going to have that one property associated with them, and 2, people aren't going to be hyped for the same kind of deal again.
No.
So yeah, hype's a really weird beastie. It's something that should be documented by David Attenborough. It really is.
I think hype it's a necessity. Like you said, you're not going to really make next to any money whatsoever on any property or project that you are involved in if you cannot drum up some form of hype for that project or property. I think it's an interesting point what you brought up in terms of whether or not you put your name on it or not. I mean, in most cases, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have an insane amount of choice in terms of putting your name on it or not, because if you were in fact involved with the creation of it or the making of whatever the project or property is, then at the end of the day, your name's going to end up being somewhere in terms of on the development side of the.
Unless you use a pseudonym.
Well, yeah, but if you haven't already established yourself with a pseudonym, then you're probably not going to get away with it this time around, you know. But it's interesting because stuff like that has actually been done with film as well. What was it? M. Night Shyamalan, for example, started off.
That name.
You say that, right? But that's not the case anymore because he's rectified himself. And he has.
Has he really?
He has rectified himself. So, guy started off is a very good filmmaker.
Yeah.
Then he let all of the hype around him get to his head. So he started thinking to himself, right, I don't need to really put that much effort into these films, and just started putting out film after film because he thinks everything he makes is a masterpiece.
With a twist.
Right? Well, he's famous for the whole twist thing, right? So, you know, it was this big deal. If M. Night Shyamalan's making a movie, it's going to be this big thing because apparently, you know, he's the next Spielberg and all that. So that all gets to his head and everything. He's thinking everything I make is going to be a masterpiece. So it doesn't matter what I do and what this stupid storyline is, as long as I got that twist at the end or something. And so he puts out films and they start getting shit, especially once you get to the points of like The Last Airbender and all that, which, my God, that film is something.
I can only give 2 props to that film.
Which is?
The special effects, which I actually disagree with. The only special effect I really don't like in the whole film is, what was it? You know when, I forget her name. She turns into Aang's wife later on.
Oh, you're on about girl playing Katara.
Yeah. When she's doing her practice stuff with her water bending, the amount of water that's coming out of that sphere of water would have made that water go away real quickly.
Yeah, well, yes, I get what he was going for with having the water actually drop off. But yes, that sphere should have gotten a lot smaller, a lot quicker with the amount of water coming off. Also, I mean, look, I get that she was in her early days of learning how to waterbend, but if that much water's falling off, you're not a good waterbender because the whole point is that you're keeping it in the sphere, and I don't really think that sphere went down like at all. So essentially, that meant she was generating water as the water was falling off.
And my second point was, what was it? Zuko and Iroh. I like them too. I like those 2 actors.
As the actors playing the characters, they are good. But it's still weird that they have those 2 playing the characters purely because of the fact that he specifically has a family photo in the film.
Yeah.
And it's a picture of an Asian family. It's like, including himself in the picture who is Asian. And so
Wait, Shyamalan?
No. They're 2 actors.
Oh, okay.
The one playing Zuko and Iroh in the family photo are like drawings of Asian characters.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they're not Asian though, so it's a bit.
Do you reckon he cast the Fire Nation as Indians just to like hype up India a bit?
Well, he wanted it to be more multicultural, so he didn't want everyone being some form of Asian culture. So he was like, he wanted the Fire Nation to be like Indians. The water tribes were to be like almost Eskimo type.
Yeah. Apart from the actor
from Katara. And her brother.
Yeah.
And their grandmother as well, who was not.
He
wasn't. He was white. And I can't remember with Earth and. Well, we didn't really have anything with air because there was no airbenders except for Aang.
Yeah.
And I think Earth might have been. I really can't remember. I don't know if they went with like Korean or something because they did have Asian culture in
I think
the movie.
I think the Earth tribe was.
I think they were like Korean or something.
Or Chinese.
But it's.
Although, hold on, if you wanted to do the multicultural thing, just for an interesting thing, I think the Earthbender should have been Russian.
Maybe. But, I mean, as far as I think Zuko's uncle Iroh always came across as slightly Russian to me in the film.
Was it the dreads?
It was just the way he looked. But you talk about like the special effects and everything in that film, and I still think like there's the whole issue with the water. There's that really stupid moment when they're freeing the Earth Kingdom from that Earth prison. You know,
there's Earth everywhere.
There's like Earth everywhere, and then when they eventually start training for it, it's just like this one little rock or something floats very slowly, and they're doing all these dance moves just to get this one rock moving. It's like, fucking hell, that's ridiculous. I also thought like Appa looked very weird in that film.
Do you know when the kids were hanging on to his feet?
I used to think they were like fingers or something coming off his toe.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I was like, why have you done this, John?
Why did you give him chicken legs?
It took me like, I think I had to watch that scene like 4 or 5 times over the space of a long time before I finally clicked on that was children hanging off his feet.
I think it's one of those problems that they just showed it for like a couple of seconds, then you didn't really have time to process it.
It was ridiculous. So I think that film might be, at least in my books, I think that's probably his worst. You might say that he tried to put effort into it, but it didn't produce a good film.
No. He said that he was going to make the movie just because his kids enjoyed the show.
Yeah, and then he ended up checking out the show and enjoyed it himself.
But like, I have no idea how he could watch a show like that and not understand like the logistics and how things actually work and why things were like that and when they were like that. Because surely if he's unless he's just like watched a couple of episodes and then have like read what happens in between the chapters and stuff, I can't really give him any excuse.
I think it's probably the case where he watched several episodes, but not in like a sequential order kind of thing. So not like he watched the first 7. I think you would have watched the first couple, then jumped ahead several episodes, jumped ahead 7, just kept doing that and just gotten like a brief idea of everything that goes on. I don't believe for a second he did like an insane amount of research into the property before making it. Which, you know, I'm not saying you have to be like a giant fan of anything to make that property, but you should know what it is that you're making.
You should be knowledgeable.
And if you understand why decisions were made in that show, instead of just jumping on and taking a few things that show's done, you can then make a decision to say, okay, well, what's best for the film? Do I follow what they've done for this particular reason, or have I got another reason why I think it should be different and it'll work better differently in the film? But you have to understand the reasons in the original property. You got to do a bit of research in that first to get a grasp of everything, and then you have the best knowledge to go forward and make another property. But so Shyamalan basically became a bit of a laughingstock in terms of film. No one really wanted him to have. For some reason, the studios still had a lot of faith in the guy because they kept giving him, allowing him to do films and kept hiring him on to do films. But it got to the point where if M. Night Shyamalan's name was showing up at the beginning of a trailer, people were either just watching it to laugh or people were saying that name and saying, I'm staying well away from that film. But so what they did, and I think this was for the film he did last year. He had a film, I think, come out a couple of years ago, and the studios intentionally didn't put his name on it. And people said, oh, it was actually pretty decent. It wasn't a great film, but it was a pretty decent film. I could be wrong about this information, but I'm pretty sure I'm right, if I'm remembering correctly. But obviously, and then you look at the credits, and it had M. Night Shyamalan as the director and everything, but they didn't advertise it. And so people went to check it out and wound up saying it was a decent film, and saying it's a lot better than M. Night Shyamalan's previous stuff. Then he released a film last year, which I believe they also didn't put his name on. I think they just said from the people that brought you Sixth Sense and so on and so forth. You got this amazing trailer, and at the end it just said Split. So Split was an M. Night Shyamalan film. Film I've seen after hearing a lot of good things about it. It's a fantastic film. It's really brilliant. It has its twist at the end and everything. Although its main twist at the end only really works if you've seen another one of his properties.
Right.
So, I hadn't at the time.
Can you, when you're watching the movie, can you see like the twist coming?
No.
Right. Okay.
No. Because you don't necessarily know where the film's going to go with how everything's unfolding itself. So it's interesting. And there's nothing that sort of leads you up to thinking that, oh, the real twist that happens at the end of the film, there's no lead up to that. It just happens. And you're like, oh. So like people that have seen this other property that he's got are like, holy shit. But anyone that's not familiar with it whatsoever won't even pick up on the twist at all.
Right.
Other than the actor that shows up at the end of the film. That's the only way you'd be able to really pick up on, oh, this is a twist, because that actor is quite a big name, and he would never just be in a film for 5 seconds when he's that level, kind of thing. So, but yeah, people basically loved that film. So M. Night Shyamalan's back in people's good books, and now he's making a sequel to that film and the other property. And relatively people are quite excited for that property, and I bet I put money on the fact the studios will advertise the next film with M. Night Shyamalan's name on again. But that's the kind of thing you can do in terms of controlling the hype levels, because you know at the time M. Night Shyamalan is a bad name in Hollywood right now. So if we put his name in front of this film, because we as a studio, we have a lot of faith in this film, we know this film's good, we know this film is bankable, it's going to make us a lot of money. But if we put his name at the front of it, we're going to lose a lot of people, because they don't want to watch an M. Night Shyamalan film. Or at least they don't want to know they're watching an M. Night Shyamalan film. So if we just remove that, we can then build up the hype, and you don't have, as you were saying, that stigma around the film, being like, oh, it's M. Night Shyamalan, it's going to be shit. But now that he's sort of rectified himself with a couple of films, they can start kind of doing that thing again. So yeah, like I said, you don't have that much control in terms of having your name on the property, because even the films that didn't advertise his name with would have still had his name in the credit section. But that's not like shoving it in everyone's face kind of thing. But yeah, even in stuff like film and in other types of properties, you can go around sort of advertising, because at the end of the day, that's what advertising is. It's hype builder. You can basically go use that mechanism to sort of remove stigma from things and allow hype to keep going, even though most people, if they were more knowledgeable about the fact, it wouldn't affect them, kind of thing. So yeah, you're right about the whole stigma and sort of kind of keeping your name off it, knowing when's best to have your name on something and when's best to like remove it, kind of thing. So yeah,
it's a little weird, because there's been a lot of hype that's been happening recently, and I'm not just talking about movies here. It's also video games, and I don't think so much it happens so much more for with music. I think you can get the hypes, but music becomes more of a trend rather than hype that surrounds it. So I'm kind of thinking right now, we've already had one type of hype control, crowd control, hype control, which is just to take your name off the property.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of wondering, is there another way you could go about it? So like, I think it usually happens in the video game industry, or it has been happening recently, where there's been a lot of hype for a property, but then the developers have came out and said, lower your expectations, guys. It's not going to be this way or that way. But then I kind of think that's even more of a double-edged sword, because yes, you are making a potential audience aware of what kind of lines you're going to draw here, what kind of where to put them in the sand, so to speak. But then I start thinking, well, now if you've built up all that hype and now you're telling people it's either the opposite way or it's not like that at all, you kind of risk damaging your own property from people being like, oh, but it's not going to be like that, so I don't care anymore.
I think that's that's my problem with hype at the end of the day, because like, as we're going back to saying, talking about like expectations and everything, you build yourself up for something that the film's never going to do or hit. And yes, it's good that you're getting hyped for something. It's good that you're getting excited about this property or this project or whatever it is, whether it be television, whether it be music, whether it be movies or anything else, video games. But if you get an idea stuck in your head that something is going you're going to get a certain experience, or or something specific is going to happen in that property, and you're getting very excited for that. I think that's the most damaging form of hype, because once again, when that property then doesn't do that thing that you've been waiting for it to do for like a year or something, you walk out very disappointed. But that's unfair to the game or to the film, because the film never the property never promised you that. It never said that was going to happen. It probably never even hinted towards it. You might have, heard a few words here and there and stretched it to sort of fit your own wants and needs so that it sounds to you like this is going to happen. But at the end of the day, it's not the film's fault that you that you got hyped about something it never promised you. So hype can be very damaging for that main reason, which is the worst side of hype, because people just get too excited on this one idea, and then when a film doesn't, or a game doesn't even touch on that, people are like, well, that was shit, and it didn't do anything I wanted it to. It was like, well, yeah, but that's your fault, because you said that you wanted that to happen in the film. You should have just, yes, get excited about the film, but get excited for what you've been told is going to happen. Get excited for what you've seen already, and then just, leave it all behind when you actually get the chance to view it or play it, and just let the experience happen, and then see how you feel about it. Don't get too excited. Don't run away with this one idea that's never promised you. But actually, just to answer a question that you raised before, is there other ways of sort of building hype or controlling hype? In a very similar way, I think there's a very good way of boosting hype exponentially. And I know a game has done it, a game that is no longer in contention anymore. And a movie has done it, but I can't remember the name of the film. But the movie did it a little wrong, because they didn't jump on the hype opportunity to like get the best results from their film. They waited way too long before releasing the film after releasing the hype. But basically, another way, it's very similar in terms of the whole, whether you the whole putting your name on something or taking the name off of it. But one of the things you can do is keep the project name hidden. Show people what it is they're getting. Give it a pseudonym. Give it a completely different name that hints to, that doesn't tell them whatsoever what it is that they're actually getting. Let people get excited for the actual property itself, as opposed to just getting excited about the name. Once again, I know a film did it back in 2016, and there was a game that I think did it the year before.
Don't games often just usually do with a code name anyway?
Well, during like the development process, yes, but in terms of actually marketing the game, the example for the video game I'm talking about is PT. You remember? You don't know about PT?
No.
It was basically this. It was this little demo essentially. It was like a play test kind of thing, released onto the like stores, like onto the PlayStation Store and the Xbox market. Basically for everyone to freely download, and you walk around this corridor and you open the door, and it just keeps sending you back loop through loop around the exact same corridor, but every time you go through the door, something slightly different about. And it's this like intense horror game basically. There's like a fetus lying in a sink and everything, screaming, crying for its mom. There's like blood from the walls and everything. There's one point where you're going through the passage, and there's this like just regular ceiling. You go through one of the doors and you come back around through the passage. Now the ceiling's like an extra 10 feet up in the air, and the lamp is like on this giant chain swinging. But basically, it was just advertised as PT, nothing else. And someone eventually figured out how to finish it. Someone actually managed to finish it, and they revealed to everyone what happened at the end. And the title went from PT to Silent Hills. Silent Hills, which was going to be the name of the game. So basically, this intense game that everyone was super excited about, they're like, "Oh, this PT thing, this looks amazing! I can't wait till the actual version of the game comes out." And then when you finish this demo, it reveals that it's a Silent Hill game. That shoots the hype right up there, because people are already excited about this property. But then to find out that this property exists inside of a pre-established world that a lot of people already love, can shoot the hype right up for it. And I know, like I said, I can't remember what film it was, but I know a film did that last year as well. It went by a pseudonym. Trailers were going around for it. People were very excited about it. And then I think at Comic-Con or something of 2016, they revealed what the actual title of the film was, and it was it was actually a sequel film to something else that had already existed. And the hype shot up for it. People were like, "Holy shit! I can't believe that's this. I can't believe that's this film."
Right.
But where they failed to jump on the hype with that, because a lot of films will sometimes do at Comic-Con is they'll let people actually go and see the film at Comic-Con. They'll release it that day. And they didn't do that, and they should have done that. They waited till 3 or 4 months later to actually release the film in cinemas. And by that time, the hype had died. The whole excitement was there, and then 4 months later, everyone had forgotten about it, and then it hits cinemas, and it makes next to no money whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a hard example to sort of judge whether or not the hype for that method is good, because the film failed because it didn't jump on the hype opportunity.
Capitalize.
It didn't it didn't capitalize on it. And the game failed because they're no longer making it. Because what do you call it? The
Capcom?
Yeah, they screwed the creator guy over basically. So he says he's not making any Silent Hill games anymore.
What did they do?
I can't remember what they did, but I can't remember if he quit or if he got fired. I think he walked out on them though, because he was just sick of how they were handling stuff. But yeah, in fact, it's the guy you tried to mention on footage we've previously shot a day ago. I think it's the same guy.
Same guy.
Yeah.
Do you know anything else he's been in?
What is it? Because I could be wrong about this, but I think he's involved. I think he's the creator dude for the Metal Gear games.
Kojima?
Yeah, I think it's him.
Kojima was doing a Silent Hill. I think. Wait, isn't Kojima working on his own game right now?
Yeah, but that's because he got. That's because he left.
Yeah.
He left Capcom. He's not doing Silent Hill.
No, he left Konami. He was never with Capcom.
Konami, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he got basically they screwed him over.
Yeah.
And that's why he's not making. So he's not making the Silent Hill game anymore. So he's making his own game.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it's meant to sort of. I think it's his sort of pushback at what happened with Konami, because the first trailer he released for that game just so happened to have the same actor guy who was from Silent Hills. So I think it's basically going to be purely his own version, maybe, of that game.
No, I reckon he's going to do another Metal Gear-esque game.
I don't know.
Because he's like the originator for the Metal Gear games anyway. So with him having to leave Konami and leave that property behind, and I think people want him to work on another Metal Gear.
Right, but there's Metal Gear games coming out all the time. Metal Gear's not ending anytime soon.
Yes, but I'm saying he was the director for all Metal Gear games.
But he's also basically the creator for the Silent Hill franchise.
Right,
the guy's a horror legend, essentially.
Okay.
He knows horror.
Right,
he knows how to get people scared, and not just jump scares either. He knows how to creep people out, and because that's what PT was mostly. It was very intense. It was very it had jump scares in it, but it built you up to it to the right point to where you were literally very nervous to continue walking, and then the scare happens, so you literally shit your pants.
Right.
So I think because he's essentially lost out on this opportunity to make this mega horror game, and from the trailer that I've seen of the new game that he's making, it does have some very creepy elements to it. So I think there's a good chance it's probably going to be his own horror game, because he really knows horror.
I don't know. It's a bit too military for it to be a horror game.
Too military? It had freaking... It was on a beach and had bodies and shit in the sky.
Yeah, it had bodies and shit. It had footprints and whatnot. It also had Guillermo del Toro. With a baby in a vat.
Right. Yeah.
So I am getting a Metal Gear vibe from.
So you're getting a Metal Gear vibe from it, and I'm getting a very horror-esque kind of vibe from it. So, but That's probably still years out from being released.
Yeah.
So it'll be a while before we'll find out any of that. But that's, like I said, yeah. So that's the kind of thing. So we don't really have a good example as to whether that type of hype works. But both methods have gotten people extremely hyped for the game.
Yeah.
It's just no one's had the opportunity to then like capitalize on that said hype. But yeah, so there are like many different methods and clever methods of building that hype. And if you're confident in the property that you're making, you can do those like sneaky methods to sort of build the hype. But if then like your property doesn't live up to that, the expectation that you've just put into people's minds, because if you're going to do it in like a clever, deceptive kind of way, you've got to be able to back it up with something good. If you've got something that's average and mediocre and you do some kind of really clever, deceptive way of hyping people up for it, and then it doesn't live up to that, or it is literally just an average like film or game, it's not going to be seen as an average film or game. It's going to be seen as like one of the worst things that you could have ever possibly made. I mean, just look at the hype that was built around. We were talking about this game yesterday, and look at the hype that was built around No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
And look at the shit that, like, people don't shit on it as heavy now, but look at the shit that it got, like, on its first, like, month or two of release.
Yeah.
Because it had been hyped up so much. So that's, like, the kind of damage that can happen if you, that's really what hype can do.
I think what No Man's Sky did even worse with the hype is that they rode that wave a bit too long. And they got a bit too high on themselves on the hype.
Well, they hurt themselves really, especially because, they kept delaying when the game was coming out. And yes, delaying a game is good because that means it gives them more time to work on it. It means ultimately you're going to get a better game. But it meant that they had to keep marketing the game. They had to keep reminding people this game was coming out. And then they didn't exactly... Maybe the answers were honest at the time, but they never, took back some of the statements that they'd made for the game. Yes, that would have hurt the game in terms of hype, as we're talking about. But it's at the end of the day, it's best that while you are hyping people up, it's best that you remain honest with everyone. Because if you start to get to a point where you're getting everyone excited, but you're doing it through lies, when it comes to that next property you make, no one's going to touch it. Just as we're talking about, like with M. Night Shyamalan and everything, no one wanted anything to do with his films, to a point where they actually had to hide the fact that he had anything to do with them. So,
another person who kind of died from the hype train. Oh, what's his name? Crap. Again with the name things. He was in The Love Guru. He was in
oh, you'd say
Voice of Shrek.
Mike Myers.
Mike Myers. Yeah, he died from hype.
Well, he didn't die from hype.
Well,
just to clarify.
He died.
He got far too excited about the next project he was making. He had a heart attack and dropped it.
Overhype.
Yeah, I think
overhype.
I think overhype hurt him, but then it's the fact that I think what also hurt him was the fact that he was expecting his film to be received a lot better than what actually was.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just because it was him in the property and he was used to Austin Powers getting such a good raving like reviews and stuff. So maybe when pretty much nobody enjoyed The Love Guru, I think it kind of hurt him to a point where he sort of retreated a little bit, and which is why we've been hearing rumors about an Austin Powers 4
they really need
6 years now or something.
They really need to make another Austin Powers movie. They need to.
I would watch another Austin Powers movie.
I would as well.
I'd be very interested to see where they'd go with it, especially now that it's like years and years later. I mean, talk about Austin Powers now having to be in the future.
And they could make a joke about Michael Caine being butler of Batman.
So, yeah, I mean, I thought I think somebody that is starting to feel the damage now of hype might be Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Because he's been able to get away with the hype train for some time now.
And fireworks for pyro.
Yeah. Like the whole idea of him basically thinking that his films are critic proof. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because, he pushes out a film like, it's it's called like something like 21 hours or 5. I can't. It's something hours or whatever. It's like an army film, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people walk out saying it's either fantastic or it's a really good film.
Wait, is that the one with Shia LaBeouf in it?
No. But this is a Michael Bay like army movie, right? A soldier film, and people come out either really liking the film or loving the film, and so that's like Michael
really
Bay,
liking or loving?
Yeah, so like either being very positive about this film, so they either really liked the film or they loved loved the film. So Michael Bay gets himself one step up because he's just put out a really good film, but then it doesn't seem to matter what happens. As soon as it comes to the Transformers properties, it's just shit after shit after. Like, I thought I'd always be able to get away with these Transformers films because I really like the first one. I don't hate the second one. I used to really like it, but it's it's just gotten worse every time I watch it now. I love the third one. I still love the third one.
With Dinobots?
No, with Shockwave in it and like the Destroy Chicago and everything.
Shockwave was in all of them.
Shockwave wasn't in. Shockwave's in one of them.
Sorry, I'm thinking of Soundwave. Not
Yeah.
Shockwave.
Soundwave's mainly only in the third one as well.
Yeah.
Because he starts off as like a satellite, but then he has a car form later on in the film. But yeah, Shia LaBeouf's last Transformers film is probably my favorite of the lot.
Which one was that one again?
It's the one I'm talking about right now, with Shockwave in it, with Soundwave in it. Megan Fox is no longer in it.
Megatron's got the hood on.
He's got the hood on. He's in the desert. He's got a good, really good game for it that's just set before the film.
I don't like the game.
You do like the game. We've talked about it.
It's not Cybertron.
It's not Cybertron.
It's the movie game.
It's the same. It's basically using all the same mechanics as Cybertron, but it's the movie game.
But it's the thing with the game. Well, with the game at least, it's going from like the Cybertron aesthetic over to like the Transformers movies aesthetic.
Right, but for that one it works. I think it works for the Transformers 3 game. I think it worked very well. I think it was actually a really good game, despite the fact High Moon Studios didn't want to make the game. I think it's a very good game. But in terms of the Michael Bay films, I'm thinking, okay, a lot of people don't like these films, but I do. So I'll go see the fourth one. I'm sure I'm going to enjoy it, despite the fact everyone else is saying this is a piece of shit. And then I saw the film and I was like, yeah, this is a piece of shit. Like, I remember enjoying the beginning of the one with the Dinobots in it, the fourth film. I remember enjoying the beginning of it and relatively enjoying the end of it. But the entire middle section was just this blurry mess of just explosions and robots going everywhere, and it had like next to no narrative to it.
Did you like
bad
any
acting.
of the Dinobots?
Because
I like the look of
I
Grimlock.
like Grimlock, but I always typically like Grimlock.
Yeah, he didn't talk.
No,
He didn't speak at all.
he doesn't do an insane amount of talking in the fifth one either.
In fact, I think there's actually a dinosaur in there that shouldn't be there, which would be Spinosaurus, which should have actually been I don't know if it's equivalent, but it should be one of the long neck dinosaurs because the Spinosaurus is not canon in the Dinobots.
Well, in the Michael Bay verse, it is.
I don't care what Michael Bay says. No, you don't do that to the Dinobots. You want to let them talk. Grimlock's a very strong semi-idiot. Yeah. Because it seems extremely weird to me, especially when in the game Grimlock actually has lines. There's very few lines, but it's established that he can talk.
Are you talking about the game that combined the movies with Cybertron?
Yes.
Yeah, that was like the only fun Earth section of that game. I mean, the Earth sections were very few and far between in that game, but the Earth sections were really shit in that game.
Yeah.
The Cybertron sections were actually quite fun, but the Earth sections, horrible. But the Grimlock level was relatively fun and enjoyable, I will admit that.
I still don't know why they give him a mace instead of a sword.
I don't know.
Why, Michael?
But he doesn't exactly have much of a bigger part when it comes to the fifth film either. And the fifth film is just, I mean, I think halfway through that film, I was like, is this film going to end anytime soon? Because I don't want to watch this anymore.
Yeah.
And it still had like another hour and a half to go. And I was like, oh. So it wasn't it had its moments,
Mm.
but it just, honestly, I couldn't tell you which one I like.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to pick one between number 4 and number 5,
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd have to maybe pick number 4 above it, just because I enjoy the beginning
Mm-hmm.
and the very end of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I don't really think I enjoyed anything about the 5th film.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually aggravated me because it contradicts.
Wait, did you not like Megatron's new design?
It was stupid because, one, it looked awesome in the trailers, but in practice with the film, it didn't look very good at all. And then, what was it? Also, why was he called Megatron again?
Mm-hmm.
Because he changed his name to fucking Galvatron in the 4th film. So he's randomly just Megatron again. The story is contradictory.
Mm-hmm.
It contradicts a lot of the established story from the first 3 films. Basically, what we've learned now is there's about 50 different ways that the Transformers came into being, into existence. You've got the Allspark, which supposedly is the thing that did it. Then you've got what is it? You've got like the original primes or some of that shit is involved with something. I'm sure there's another film that explains the origins of the Transformers that I can't remember right now. And then
they're created by an alien race.
Yeah, I don't know, something like that. And then you've got in the 5th film this Quintessa.
Yeah, that's who I'm on about. Yeah,
is the creator of all the Transformers, and I'm like, for fuck's sake, will you make your mind up of how you came into being?
The Quintessent is actually originally supposed to be a race of robots, not a female. Not a human-esque female. They're supposed to be robots with many faces.
It's just, and I don't, honestly, no, I can't justify anything about the 5th Transformers. So I'm just annoyed the living shit out of me. But I think, like us, as you put earlier before the podcast started, us moviegoers and us people that like to sort of stay interested in behind-the-scenes stuff with everything, interested in what directors and what's actually going on with the films, where we weren't necessarily always buying into Michael Bay's hype.
Yeah.
The common public, people that just were excited to go see a film, they were still relatively excited to go see Transformers movies.
Yeah.
I think everyone's starting to wake up now.
Well done.
Because I don't think the 5th Transformers movie made anywhere near the same amount of. I could be wrong, but I'm sure it didn't hit the same numbers that Transformers 4 did. Because Transformers 4 made an insane amount of money, and it should not have done. To the point where the next Transformers film is not going to have Michael Bay involved with it whatsoever. So. I mean, to be fair, it's just a standalone Bumblebee movie.
Yeah.
And the director for that is quite a good director. But Michael Bay will probably still have an executive producer credit in it, but he won't actually have anything to do with the movie.
Yeah.
So we'll actually get to experience what it feels like to have a good Transformers movie again.
Do you reckon the Transformers movies just deserve an entire new reboot?
At this point, after what's happened with the 5th, like, if they'd made a good 5th one, I'd be like, no, you can continue. The 4th one didn't. It damaged you to a point where I didn't want to see Transformers movies anymore, but not to a point where the law and canon and everything didn't work.
I think the law's fucked up, though.
Especially now it is. It's very fucked up now.
Isn't Cybertron destroyed?
Cybertron's destroyed in the 3rd film.
Yeah.
But then it's just a bit of a mess come the 5th one.
Yeah.
So that was another contradictory factor in it.
It's kind of weird because Megatron's saying like he wants to go home, but your home's destroyed. Where are you going to go? Unless he's like thinking that he's just going to go to the Cybertron's moon, but
I don't know.
It's still not Cybertron.
Although, and also, how much information are you aware of from the 5th film?
I know. I've seen the scene of when he's doing the discussions with the military to get certain Decepticons released.
A particular character that we've been waiting a very long time for in the Transformers film franchise has been revealed.
Jetfire?
No.
No wait. Primus?
No, but very close.
Ultra Magnus?
No, much colder.
Hotshot?
No, we're talking big Transformer.
Was he in the Cybertron game? And is he mostly white?
Not my version, not the version I know of him. I know in like G1 he's orange.
Oh, he's orange.
He's very, very big.
Omega?
Insanely big.
Is he the size of a city?
Oh, much bigger.
Is he the size of a town?
Much bigger.
Crap. Tidal wave.
No. He could fit many, many cities and towns on him. You might even say he's planet-sized.
Unicron?
Unicron has been revealed.
Oh no.
Do you know where Unicron
really bad?
You haven't seen him.
Uh-huh.
He's been revealed. Do you know where Unicron is?
Where's Unicron?
Unicron is the planet Earth.
Oh, I already knew that.
Yeah.
Because of the Transformers Primes. Stop it. Earth is Earth. It is not a Transformer.
Because everything has to be a Transformer in the Transformers universe, doesn't it?
But do you know what makes it even worse? If Unicron is the center of the planet, one, he's not planet-sized. He would be core-sized. Because the rest of the planet, if you didn't know, Michael, is mostly made out of rock. Not metal. It's not impressive when you have a fucking metal a rock golem. Just
metal in Earth. I mean, basically,
there's a bunch of iron and nickel and stuff. But most of the Earth is actually surrounding that.
Yeah. So, but honestly, I think, like I said, people are starting to wake up to that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if they are going to continue in this canon world of the Transformers, they're just going to get a completely different director altogether. Who can maybe take this stupid plot element that Michael Bay has put in this last film and rectify all of it. It's a big task. I feel very sorry for you.
I think Guillermo del Toro could do it. If he wasn't busy.
He wouldn't want to touch that film.
No, not the film. I think if we were going to do a reboot.
No, but I'm saying if they're going to continue with that version, this version of Transformers. But right now they are continuing with it. So if they're going to make another Transformers movie and continue it, they're going to need either a really good director or just someone that has a fantastic pitch that can rectify everything and get people actually excited about Transformers again. But I think after this Bumblebee film, that's why I'm saying they might continue it, because if the Bumblebee film is very good, they will continue that version of the world.
Yeah.
If the Bumblebee film is not received well, which I feel sorry because the director's a really good director and he's not really associated with Michael Bay whatsoever.
Yeah.
So for him, I hope the film's good. But in terms of for this franchise, I'm hoping the film's kind of bad because I just want it to get a full-on reboot altogether.
Well, by your terms, we just need 2 more bad Transformer movies. Just 2 more.
Well, according to the rest of the world, we've already had like 4. I think Transformers fatigue is very much starting to be a thing, despite the fact we don't get it on a yearly basis.
I think there's two things that they could do, and they would both technically, well, one would be a standalone, and the second one would be just a total reboot. Is bring us another just animated movie.
I want them to try and do it live action, or at least live action-esque.
Wait, hold on. They've already brought out a live action movie.
They've brought out several live action.
Not a live action movie, an animated movie, and it was in the Primeverse. I mean, like a 2D animated.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I've seen plenty of animated versions of Transformers. I know animated versions of Transformers are good, right? So I want several good live action Transformer films. I'll even accept like not literal live action, but like CGI style photorealism live action. I wouldn't be opposed to a Transformers movie that is just set on Cybertron and is just about the war between the Autobots and Decepticons.
Remove the humans.
Just get rid of the humans altogether. We don't need them.
Do you think that we have such little attention span that if we don't see a human, then we're just not interested?
You want to build up hype for a Transformers movie? You make a Transformers film that's set on Cybertron that's just purely a war film.
No, I'd say just before the war.
Yeah.
Because then you get the instance of...
No, I'm talking about like in the vein of War for Cybertron. That's set before the war kicks off. But it's essentially, a war game, right? It's a third-person shooter game, but it's about a war at the end of the day. So you make the film be like the first half an hour is like before the war kicks off, it's all build up.
Mhm.
Then you find out how the war kicks off, and then the rest of the film is just this war movie.
Yeah.
Whether you want to spread it out to 2 films and have them leave Cybertron in the second film, or you just want to do it in the first one, don't care. You want to build up hype. That's the film you make.
Leave Cybertron in the second film. In the third film, do have them come to Earth. Don't involve any humans in it still. Have them have it set in the jungle or something along those lines, and introduce the mini-cons.
I don't know that. You go down that route. I think if they're going to go to Earth, it's fine to have humans be involved because they're on a planet filled with humans, but don't have them be the main characters. You know, continue with Optimus being the protagonist, Megatron being the antagonist, and you know, the soldier characters were always generally really good in the Transformers films. Not in the last 2, but in like the first 3, they were always generally really good characters. If you just have them as like the side characters that are showing up throughout the film, but still have it primarily focused on the Autobots and the Decepticons, you're gonna have a good film, and people will have, assuming that the prior 2 movies are good, you will have good hype going for that film again.
And don't have any kids. I don't want to see any kid actors.
Never have, unless you know
unless
the movie's for kids. It very rarely.
No, I don't think even for kids. I think
unless they're very good kid actors, because in all fairness, like just as an example, Stranger Things primarily has children as the main characters, and that's a really good TV show.
Yeah.
So
you've got to get it's very limited circumstances. I would actually be like, get some kid actors.
But I don't know that it necessarily fits in Transformers, because they had a kid in the last Transformers film, and there was no point in that whatsoever.
She was a pain. And I haven't seen the movie, but I already know from the trailer she's an absolute pain.
She's not even a pain, Chris. She doesn't need to be in the film. She does nothing in the film. Like, literally does nothing in the film. She shows up, then she gets left behind, and then she shows up again at the end.
Oh.
She has no point.
She's barely in the movie anyway.
So she's got a big chunk in the beginning to establish her character, and then she's not in the film for the rest of it until the very end. She's pointless. She's a completely pointless character.
Okay.
But yes. So I think that's the best possible way. Either have a fantastic standalone Bumblebee movie, or just reboot the franchise altogether. Because reboots can hurt if you're consistently doing them all the time. That can really hurt hype. But if there's a franchise that's really struggling, you're like, right, we're just going to full-on reboot this altogether. Completely new director, none of the original teams involved with this anymore. That can shoot hype back up to the top. So like a full-on like Cybertron type thing for something like Transformers will get people very excited. And because the majority of people wouldn't know what to expect with that type of film, like we would because we're Transformers fans, but like the general audience wouldn't. There's not a likely chance that you're going to hurt expectations with that kind of movie, unless for some reason on Cybertron there's a human child walking around who is the main character. That's probably the only thing.
And we're kind of running out of time, but
we are, yeah.
I do have a quick idea. Don't have like what would you call it, a running continuity between Transformer movies for a while, and do movie versions of live action movie versions, or live action in some cases, because some cases it would be off world regardless of the Transformer series.
Well, just to, before we wrap this up, I will just say I don't think that would be as smart a decision as just having your own general story going throughout it. Just because, look, Transformers is a giant property.
Oh, yeah.
Like, pretty much relatively everyone knows what, especially after the movies have now happened, everyone pretty much knows what Transformers are. Majority of people know it existed prior to the movies, but it's still not this... it's big, but it's not insanely big where every single person on the planet knows about the Transformers. Maybe because of the live-action films that do, but... just with the cartoons, and not every person knows about all of the cartoons either. They just know of the existence of the Transformers stuff. So making like a specific live action G1 movie, making a live action Armada film, making a live action like the animated series one, and the current one, or the one that was current a couple of years ago. I don't know that would excite as many people because they're like, well, are these like the general audience would question whether or not they're connected, and why they're not just doing a connected thing. The general audience have got no interest in these, but in like Armada or in G1 or whatever. They just want to see a Transformers movie. So yeah, maybe you could do films that aren't connected, but if you can do a connected storyline film that's just not connected to the current live action versions of the Transformers, I think you should just go for that. And then at that point, you know, people are really getting into the sci-fi stuff again as well. So that's a fantastic opportunity to have a great sci-fi film with just purely being on the Cybertron planet about the war between these two. Right? People like watching robots punch each other. So
a Transformers space opera.
Yeah.
Bring it on, Star Wars.
So, just to finalize this off, then, hype.
Yeah.
Good or bad? Yeah.
An uncontrollable beastie that you want and also don't want.
Yeah, it's like this swirly, whirly big mess of just timey-wimey.
I knew you were going to do that.
Yeah, man. I saw the opportunity and I capitalized on it. No, I think, once again, I just think it's a double-edged sword at the end of the day. It's great for the marketing side, but it can be and it's great to experience, but it's very hurtful for the audience side of things at the end of the day.
Well, for the property rather than the audience.
Well, hurtful for the audience because they ended up walking out and being more disappointed with the film than they could have been. But then, yes, hurtful to the property at the end. At the end of it all.
Yeah.
Because people won't be as excited for it. So in the future. Yeah. Radio guys, that's about all we have time for today. Pretty much. Yeah. So, you know, do all the favors.
All the favors?
All the favors, all the buttons.
Right.
During all the days.
All the days.
All the days. All the buttons.
We don't upload every day.
Well, no, but if you watch this, if you rewatch this again every day, or just go back and watch our other stuff each day of the week, you can make sure you hit all the buttons in the correct sequential order.
And you can join in with everybody else who touches the barely button, apparently.
The barely button.
The barely button.
The barely button.
They're barely buttons.
Go back to that cowboy accent.
I think not.
No? Okay. No. Sorry. I'm sorry. Bye, Daniel.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.